Let's Talk Jesus podcast, episode 8. We're going to talk about hell. Hell doesn't get talked about much. You don't get a lot of fire and brimstone out of me. You get a lot of love God with all your heart, love your neighbors such as yourself. But I don't talk on the flip side of why we want to do those things to basically become one with the Lord. Because the alternative is we stay separate from the Lord. And He wants us to be together because He knows what the alternative is, but He's not going to force it upon us. We've got a free will choice going on. And so we're either willing to be with the Lord, which He wants, or we're willing to be away from the Lord, which He doesn't want. So let's get that part of it out of the way. Hell. I can talk to you a little bit about my own personal experiences. Uh, I don't believe I'm prophetic or anything of that nature. Do I believe that there's actually people out there that um, the Lord has shown things to that are 100% accurate and true, like visions of hell, visions of heaven, whatnot? Yeah, most definitely. Do I think I'm one of those people? Well, it's kind of complicated. I did a whole lot of mushrooms back in my earlier years, caused all kinds of havoc on my brain, mental disorders, and whatnot, and so forth. So, anything that I've experienced that might be under the umbrella of religion, so to say, I got to take it with a grain of salt. I'm not going to sit here in front of you and try to preach that stuff to you because I don't want to mislead you. But at the same point, I want to be able to share my personal circumstances, and hopefully, the Lord will, in some way, take the good out of it and put that on your heart, and take any of the crap out of it and just throw it away. So, hell, here's my hell experience. Came to the Lord almost 3 years ago in a mental ward. About a week before the mental ward experience, I was deep within a manic episode. I walked about 7 miles from this house down to the lake around midnight and ended up getting into the water. And I have no clue because when I'm in a manic episode, it's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing. I'm Dr. Jekyll in the back seat, tied up, just having to watch what Mr. Hyde's actions are in my body. And so Mr. Hyde walked 7 miles down the road to the lake and hopped in and just basically went underwater and just started drinking in water, trying to drown me. And I know, like, that sounds crazy, and it's because it was. I mean, imagine going through it. Yes, it sounds crazy just telling you, but imagine what it was like going through that. And as I was under the water and gulping in the water, what was kind of put in on me when I gasped up out of the water, I saw the sky completely open up to basically a whole new reality. And that whole new reality was me experiencing the consequences of sins of others and actually feeling them, feeling the weight of those sins. Like if I were to sin against you, the pain that it would cause, I was feeling that pain. I was feeling the pain that I felt from actually committing that sin, such as shame and disobedience to the Lord. Now, take that on the broad scale of not just feeling it between me and you, but feeling everybody's sins, just seeing basically a snapshot of just visuals of the pain along with the encompassing feelings of the pain, be it emotional. It was mostly emotional, not so much physical. But that emotional burden of pain, it helps me understand a little more of what Christ on the cross experienced. Not only did he experience the hell of the actual beatings and then the actual nails and hanging there in the spear, there was so much more than the physical. He took on all of our sins. He without sin became sin. And so that comes with all the feelings too. So just take a moment to grasp the magnitude of every single person that has ever existed and ever will exist, every single sin that they've ever committed, every last bit of pain experienced from every last sin that was ever committed, felt by God. That is empathy. That is fully encompassed empathy. We have an empathetic Lord. Hence, why would he humiliate himself to actually be born of his own creation and actually become the God-man, which is Jesus Christ, and go through the experience of being a human and then being completely blameless, taking on all of our sins. And the wage of sin is death. So he died on the cross. That really happened. He really was resurrected from the cross. That really happened. There was an empty tomb. And why did he do all this? To keep us from hell. Somewhere in the Bible here it talks about a weeping and gnashing of teeth. And so here's my fire and brimstone moment. When I was experiencing that in the water, just that all-encompassing pain, it was a weeping and literal gnashing of my teeth, just gnashed. Just imagine such emotional trauma that you can't help but gnash your teeth and just bawl your eyes out. And imagine that for all eternity, because that's what it feels like to not be one with our Father, to be away from him, and knowing that there's no ability to turn back because that time is past. That time hasn't passed for you. That's my fire and brimstone speech to you right now is, if you're watching this video and Jesus Christ, you don't have your faith in him, do something about it. Like ASAP. Hell is real. I just want to read something really quick. It states, "But when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them from one another, as the shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will put the sheep on his right and the goats on the left. Then the king will say to those on his right, 'Come, you who are blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world.'" Then it goes on to go through "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? And when did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or naked and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and come to you?" The king will answer and say to them, "Truly I say to you, to the extent that you did it to one of these brothers of mine, even the least of them, you did it to me." Then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, accursed ones, into the eternal fire which has been prepared for the devil and his angels." Then he just goes on to say everything that the other people had done, that they're not doing, that they didn't see Jesus Christ. They didn't see him because he's in all of us.